What happens when a young woman's worst nightmare unfolds in front of dozens of strangers, and a mysterious businessman becomes her unlikely hero? This is a story about dignity, unexpected kindness, and how sometimes the universe conspires to change two lives forever, in the most unexpected way. Before we dive into this incredible tale, I'd love to know. Drop a comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. Are you tuning in from New York, London, Tokyo, or somewhere completely different? Your stories from around the world always inspire me, so please share where this story is reaching you today. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Bella Vista, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants, creating rivulets that distorted the city lights beyond. Inside, the warm glow of crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across white linen tablecloths, while the gentle clink of expensive silverware created a symphony of refined dining. Maya Chen sat frozen at table 12, her hands trembling as she stared at the leather folder containing her check. 24 years old, with tired eyes that had seen too much struggle, she wore her only decent dress, a simple black number she'd bought second-hand 3 years ago, for job interviews. Tonight it felt like a costume she had no right to wear in this palace of privilege. The numbers on the receipt seemed to blur together. 104,783 sons. Her heart sank like a stone dropped into deep water. She had exactly $23.50 in her checking account and maybe $8 in crumpled bills in her purse. The celebratory dinner for landing her first real job as a junior graphic designer had just become her worst nightmare. Across the restaurant, partially hidden behind a marble pillar, sat Alexander Hartwell. At 35, he commanded boardrooms with the same quiet intensity. He now used to observe the unfolding drama. His tailored charcoal suit spoke of wealth and power, but his gray eyes held something softer as he watched the young woman's shoulders shake with barely contained panic. Alexander had been dining alone, as he often did these days. Being a single father to 7-year-old, Emma meant his evenings were usually filled with homework help and bedtime stories, not business dinners. But tonight Emma was at her grandmother's, and he'd needed the solitude to think about the direction of his tech company. Hartwell Dynamics, Maya's waiter, a stern-faced man named Gerald, who'd worked at Bella Vista for 15 years, approached her table with practiced efficiency. His expression had already begun to shift from professional courtesy to barely concealed impatience. "Will there be anything else this evening, miss?" Gerald asked, his tone carrying the weight of expectation. Maya's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Actually, there seems to be an issue with my card." She fumbled through her small purse, her movements growing more frantic with each passing second. "Let me try another one." But there was no other card. There was no secret stash of cash. There was only the crushing realization that her attempt to celebrate, to feel normal for just one night, was about to become a public humiliation. Gerald's eyebrows rose slightly. In his years of service, he'd seen this scenario play out before, but never quite like this. The young woman wasn't trying to dine and dash. She was genuinely mortified. Still, protocols were protocols. "Perhaps you could call someone?" Gerald suggested, his voice growing cooler. "A family member or friend?" Maya's laugh was hollow and bitter. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 19, leaving her with nothing but debt and dreams. Her few friends were struggling just as much as she was, working multiple jobs just to afford their shared studio apartment in Queens. There was no one to call, no safety net, no cavalry coming to her rescue. I can't," she stammered, her cheeks burning with shame. Around her, she could feel other diners beginning to notice the commotion. Whispers started to ripple through the restaurant, like stones thrown into still water. Alexander found himself leaning forward, his businessman's instinct warring with something deeper, a memory of his own struggles. Back when he was building his company from nothing, living on ramen noodles and determination. But more than that, he recognized something in the young woman's posture that reminded him of his late wife, Catherine, who had always championed the underdog. "Sir," Gerald was saying to Maya, his patience wearing thin, "I'm afraid I'll need to ask you to settle this matter immediately, or I'll have to involve management." The threat hung in the air like a sword. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of every gaze in the restaurant. She had two choices: make a scene trying to leave, or face whatever consequences came with not being able to pay. Neither option offered her any dignity. That's when Alexander stood up. His movement was fluid, confident, the kind of motion that commanded attention without demanding it. He walked across the restaurant with purpose, his expensive shoes silent on the polished marble floor. Other diners turned to watch, sensing that something significant was about to happen. "Excuse me," Alexander said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. "I believe the ladies' dinner is being handled." Gerald turned, immediately recognizing the quality of Alexander's attire and the calm confidence in his bearing. "Sir, please add her check to my table," Alexander continued smoothly, pulling out a platinum credit card. "And I'd like to cover any inconvenience this may have caused." Maya looked up sharply, her dark eyes wide with shock and confusion. "No, I can't. You don't understand. I don't even know you." Alexander's smile was gentle but firm. "You don't need to know me, and you don't need to explain." He turned to Gerald. "Please handle this discreetly." But Maya was already standing, her chair scraping against the floor. "I won't accept charity," she said, her voice stronger now, fueled by a pride that had kept her going through years of struggle. "I don't need to be rescued." "This isn't charity," Alexander replied, his tone respectful but unwavering. "This is one human being helping another. Sometimes we all need a hand up, not a handout." The distinction seemed to matter to her. Maya studied his face, searching for condescension or pity, but found neither. Instead, she saw something she recognized, the look of someone who had fought his own battles and understood the weight of pride. "Why?" she asked simply. Alexander was quiet for a moment, thinking of Emma, of the values he wanted to instill in her, of the random acts of kindness that had changed his own life trajectory. "Because someone once did the same for me, and they asked only that I pay it forward when I could." Gerald cleared his throat. "Perhaps we could move this conversation away from the dining area." But Alexander was already handing over his card. "Please process both checks together." "And Gerald?" He slipped the waiter a $100 bill. "I trust this conversation remains private." Maya felt tears threatening to spill over. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me," Alexander said. "Just promise me something." "What?" "Promise me that someday, when you're in a position to help someone else who's struggling, you'll remember this moment and pay it forward." She nodded, not trusting her voice to remain steady. As Gerald processed the payment, Alexander extended his hand. "I'm Alex, by the way. Alex Hartwell." "Maya Chen," she replied, shaking his hand and feeling the calluses that spoke of work beyond boardrooms. "Maya," he repeated as if testing how her name sounded. "What do you do, Maya Chen?" "I'm a graphic designer. Or I will be, starting Monday. Tonight was supposed to be my celebration. Dinner for getting my first real job," she laughed shakily. "Some celebration." Alexander's eyes lit up with interest. "Graphic design? My company is always looking for fresh, creative talent. What kind of work interests you most?" And so began a conversation that would stretch long into the evening. They moved to the restaurant's quieter lounge area, where Alexander learned about Maya's passion for environmental awareness campaigns and her dreams of using design to make a difference in the world. Maya discovered that Alex's tech company was developing sustainable energy solutions and that he was a single father trying to balance empire building with bedtime stories. "How your daughter?" Maya asked. How do you manage it all?" Alexander's expression softened in a way that transformed his entire face. "Emma is 7, and she's the most important thing in my world. Her mother, Catherine, passed away 3 years ago from cancer. Some days I feel like I'm failing at everything. Being a father, running a company, just being human. But then Emma does something amazing. Like draw me a picture of us as superheroes. And I remember why I keep fighting." Maya felt something shift in her chest. "I lost my parents when I was 19. Car accident. I thought I knew what loss felt like, but losing them so young. I can't imagine what it's like for Emma, or for you." "The hardest part," Alexander admitted, "is making sure she knows she's loved, while also trying to provide for her future. Sometimes I worry that in building something to leave her, I'm missing out on who she is right now. They talked until the restaurant staff began dimming the lights and stacking chairs. Alex insisted on calling Maya a taxi, but she declined, explaining that she preferred the subway. It was cheaper and, honestly, she found the underground tunnels of New York oddly comforting, like arteries of possibility connecting all the dreams and struggles of the city. "Let me at least walk you to the station," Alex offered. "You don't have to." "I want to." They walked through the rain-slicked streets of Manhattan, their conversation flowing as naturally as the water rushing toward storm drains. Maya found herself telling Alex about her design philosophy, about wanting to create campaigns that didn't just sell products, but inspired change. Alex shared his vision for Hartwell Dynamics, about technology that could help heal the planet rather than exploit it. At the subway entrance, Alex hesitated. "Maya, I meant what I said about my company needing creative talent. Would you consider freelancing for us? I know you're starting your new job, but maybe weekends or evenings." Maya studied his face in the neon light of the subway sign. "You don't owe me anything. You already helped me tonight more than you know. This isn't about owing. This is about recognizing talent when I see it. And after talking with you for 3 hours, I can tell you have something special, a perspective we need." She considered this. "What kind of projects?" "We're launching a campaign about making sustainable technology accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. It's about changing how people think about their environmental impact." Interested? Maya felt something flutter in her chest. Hope, maybe, or just the recognition that life sometimes offers second chances when you least expect them. "I'd like to hear more. Monday morning, my office. We can discuss it properly." He handed her his business card. "But Maya?" "Yes?" "Whatever you decide about the freelance work, I'm glad we met tonight. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten." "What's that?" "That sometimes the most important part of success is remembering to help others succeed too." Maya descended into the subway with Alex's business card clutched in her hand and a strange lightness in her step. As the train carried her back to Queens, she stared at her reflection in the dark window and saw something different, not the struggling girl who couldn't pay her bill, but someone who had been seen and valued by a stranger who expected nothing in return. 3 days later, Maya sat in the sleek Manhattan offices of Hartwell Dynamics, her portfolio spread across a conference table that probably cost more than her annual rent. Alex sat across from her, but he wasn't alone. A bright-eyed 7-year-old with dark curls and paint-stained fingers sat beside him, swinging her legs from a chair that was too big for her. "This is Emma," Alex said, his voice filled with pride. "Emma, this is Maya, the artist I told you about." Emma studied Maya with the serious intensity that only children possess. "Daddy says you make pictures that help the earth. Can you show me?" Maya opened her portfolio to a series of designs she'd created for a local environmental group, posters encouraging community gardens, logos for recycling programs, infographics about renewable energy. Emma's eyes grew wide. "These are beautiful," Emma said. "Could you teach me to make pictures like these?" "Emma," Alex warned gently, "Maya is here to talk about work with Daddy." But Maya was already kneeling down to Emma's level. "I would love to teach you. Did you know that art can be a superpower for helping people understand important things?" Emma nodded solemnly. "Like how flowers need clean water and butterflies need flowers and everything is connected." Maya looked up at Alex in amazement. "You're raising a philosopher." "She gets that from her mother," Alex said quietly. And Maya caught the mix of pride and grief in his voice. Over the following weeks, Maya found herself drawn deeper into the world of Hartwell Dynamics. What had started as weekend freelance work became something much more significant. Her designs for their sustainable technology campaign began to win awards and, more importantly, to change minds. She created infographics that made complex environmental data accessible to everyone, designed logos that captured the hope and possibility of a cleaner future, and developed campaigns that spoke to people's hearts as much as their minds. But it wasn't just the work that changed her life. It was Emma's laugh echoing through the office on Saturdays when Maya came in to work and Emma tagged along. It was Alex's quiet encouragement when Maya doubted her ideas, and his genuine excitement when she pushed the company's messaging in bold new directions. It was the way this makeshift family of three began to feel like something she'd never had before, a place where she belonged. One evening in December, as Maya was finishing up a presentation for a major client, she found Alex standing in his office, staring out at the city lights with Emma asleep in his arms. The little girl had been helping Maya with color choices and had exhausted herself with the important work of being a 7-year-old art director. "She adores you," Alex said softly, not turning from the window. "The feeling is mutual," Maya replied, setting down her laptop. "Alex, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "That night at the restaurant, why did you really help me?" Alex was quiet for so long that Maya wondered if he'd heard her. Finally he turned, careful not to wake Emma. "Catherine, you used to say that the universe was constantly offering us chances to be better than we were the day before. That night, watching you struggle with something that wasn't your fault, I heard her voice asking me what kind of man I wanted Emma to think her father was." Maya felt her throat tighten. "And what kind of man is that?" "The kind who stands up when someone needs help. The kind who recognizes that we're all just doing our best and sometimes our best isn't enough, without a little help from each other." He paused, studying Maya's face. "But here's what I didn't expect." "What?" "I didn't expect that helping you would help me so much more. You've brought something to this company, to Emma's life, to my life, that we didn't even know we were missing." Maya took a step closer. "What's that?" "Joy," Alex said simply. "You've brought joy back into our lives." On New Year's Eve, Maya found herself on the roof of Hartwell Dynamics building, watching fireworks explode over Manhattan. The year had been a whirlwind of successful campaigns, professional growth, and something else she was still learning to name. Alex stood beside her, Emma between them, all three bundled in winter coats and sharing a thermos of hot chocolate. "And make a wish," Emma commanded, as the clock struck midnight and the sky filled with light. Maya closed her eyes and thought about the girl who had sat in that restaurant 11 months ago, paralyzed by shame and fear. She thought about the man who had stood up, not because he had to, but because he chose to. She thought about the little girl who had taught her that art could be a superpower, and that family wasn't always about blood, but about choosing to love and be loved in return. When she opened her eyes, Alex was looking at her with an expression she was finally ready to recognize and accept. "What did you wish for?" he asked quietly, while Emma was distracted by the fireworks. "I wished," Maya said, "that I would always remember to pay it forward." Alex smiled, the same gentle, genuine smile he'd given her that first night. "I think that wish is already coming true." 6 months later, Maya stood in the same restaurant where her life had changed, but this time she wasn't alone. She was there with the board of directors from the Maya Chen Foundation, a non-profit she had started to provide micro-grants to struggling artists and designers. The foundation was funded partially by her success at Hartwell Dynamics, but mostly by the belief that everyone deserved the chance she had been given. As she looked around the elegant dining room of Bella Vista, Maya spotted a young man at a corner table, his hands shaking as he stared at his check with obvious distress. Without hesitation, she stood up. "Excuse me," she said to her dinner companions, "but I'll be right back." She walked across the restaurant, her heart full of purpose, ready to pay forward the kindness that had changed her life. Behind her, at a table near the window, Alex watched with Emma beside him, both of them beaming with pride. "Is Maya helping someone?" Emma asked. "Yes, sweetheart," Alex replied, taking his daughter's hand. "She's helping someone the way someone once helped her. And someday," Emma said with the wisdom of an 8-year-old who had learned that love multiplies. "When it's shared, I'll help someone too." "Yes," Alex agreed, watching the woman he loved kneel down to speak quietly with a stranger in need. "Someday you will." And in that moment, the circle of kindness that had begun with a simple act of human decency continued to grow, touching lives in ways that would ripple outward for years to come. Maya had learned that sometimes our worst moments become the foundation for our best ones, that dignity isn't about never needing help, but about accepting it gracefully and passing it on generously. The story that began with a girl who couldn't pay her bill had become something much larger, a testament to the power of compassion, the importance of second chances, and the beautiful truth that sometimes the universe conspires to put exactly the right people in exactly the right place at exactly the right moment. And every year on the anniversary of that December night, Maya, Alex, and Emma returned to Bella Vista, not to recreate the past, but to celebrate the future that grew from one stranger's decision to stand up and help another human being in need. This story reminds us that kindness is never wasted, that dignity and compassion can coexist, and that sometimes the most profound changes in our lives begin with someone else's simple decision to care. In a world that often feels divided, we all have the power to be someone's unexpected hero, just by choosing to stand up when it matters most.